Thank you guys so much for joining me today to talk about Yale Dance Lab's transposition session with Brian Seibert. So Brian Seibert is a dance critic for the New York Times, and we did the session earlier in the semester. So I'd just love to hear a little bit about your experience with Yale Dance Lab. How is this process different from learning choreography in a typical Zoom setting or in a dance studio?
Well, what I really loved about the session was the ability to take words and kind of transform them back into dance. And one of my favorite things were the fact that the words were actually associated with dance in the first place, and we were able to kind of take things that were, maybe meant for a certain style, maybe talking about ballet, and inform our own bodies from those words and make different movements, which I thoroughly enjoyed.
I also really enjoyed the way that, he just gave us phrases and then we could do whatever we want with them, because I felt like, a lot of times like dance has been really difficult over Zoom and in this virtual setting because, everyone has to do what works for them, and everyone's space is very different right now. And so the ability for us all to kind of be doing the same thing, but at the same time making it so that it works for all of us and for wherever we are, wherever we're at, was really wonderful and like a bonding experience, but also felt good because I felt like I was actually dancing and not trying to make something work that didn't work.
Yeah.
Also, Brian thoroughly encouraged, the usage of our space. He was like, oh, touch your ceiling, don't be afraid to sit somewhere else, which is really freeing because in a normal Zoom class, you're just kind of directly following choreography versus in this case, he, asked us to use our space differently. And that's something I hadn't experienced before because we're used to dancing in a studio and now I'm dancing in my bedroom.
Yeah, I definitely would agree with that. I think also a highlight as well was, I think the second day towards the end, we added a few shared movements on particular words that were in a particular quote. And it was just really cool to be, in my apartment in New Haven, doing this one movement after interpreting kind of a quote to myself, but knowing that there were 5 other people somewhere around the world that were also doing that movement at the same time, but then also it came in a completely different context for them, both in the context of they were in a literally different place, but also that they had seen the quote and were imagining that movement in a very different way from I was. And I think that this process was really good for me as a choreographer in that there was so much just innate joy in making movement just for the sake of making movement and not for the sake of does this work? Will it look good at other people's bodies? How will this look? How will this read to an audience? It was just me in myself, in my body. And there was so much movement that I found that I don't think I would have come up with if I was in the headspace of this has to be good. I have to present this. And that was really nice for me. And yeah.